I've always considered myself the responsible one in the family. If anyone was going to be the reliable, hard-working, steady child, it was me. I'd always been focused, driven, and determined. My career was thriving, I had a steady income, and I did my best to support my parents in every way I could. On the other hand, there was my sister, Emily. She'd been struggling for years. She was jobless, often unmotivated, and seemed to be going through life without any real goals or direction. She could hardly keep a job and had developed a reputation for being difficult and spoiled. But despite all that, I still loved her. She was family. Even if she could be frustrating, I always tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, but that didn't mean I didn't wonder where I went wrong. One day, I saw an incredible offer, an all-inclusive, luxurious one-week trip to Europe. It was everything you could want from a vacation. 5-star hotels, guided tours of major cities, gourmet meals at Michelin-starred restaurants. It wasn't just a vacation, it was a dream come true. For years, I had watched my parents work tirelessly, making sure we had everything we needed, sacrificing their own comfort so we could have more. They had always wanted to travel the world, but with their work commitments and tight budgets, they never had the opportunity. That's when it hit me. I could give them the trip of a lifetime. I could be the one to treat them to something they had always dreamed about. So I decided to go all in. I booked the entire trip, made sure every detail was taken care of, and kept it a surprise. I couldn't wait to see their faces when I told them. This wasn't just any gift. It was a gesture of love, a thank you for everything they had done for me over the years. For weeks leading up to the trip, I kept everything a secret. Every time I saw my parents, I pretended to be working on something else to keep the surprise under wraps. The anticipation was killing me, but I knew it would be worth it. Finally, the day of the trip arrived. I was excited and nervous all at once. Everything was packed. I had all the documents ready, and I couldn't wait to pick them up. I thought this would be one of those unforgettable moments where I could finally give them something truly amazing. Arrived at their house early in the morning, ready to pick them up. As I stood in front of their home, I felt a little giddy. This was going to be so special. My mom, with her warmth, and my dad, always a little reserved but proud, were going to see Europe through my eyes, and I was going to be the one to show them. It felt like a full-circle moment, like I had finally made it enough to do something big for them. But as I stood outside waiting for them, something felt off. I couldn't quite place it, but my gut told me this moment wasn't going to go as planned. The door opened and there they were. Both my parents were dressed ready to go, but there was something strange about the situation. My mom had this look on her face, one of quiet excitement, but there was also something unsettling about it. And then there was Emily. She was standing in the doorway with her arms crossed, not smiling at all, just watching us. "Hey guys, ready for our European adventure?" I asked, my voice filled with excitement. My mom smiled at me, but it wasn't the kind of smile I was expecting. It was warm, but there was something off about it, something that didn't sit well with me. "Actually, we've decided to go with Emily instead of you," she said almost casually. I froze. My mind went blank for a second. My parents had decided to go with Emily instead of me. The trip I had meticulously planned, the dream vacation, I had arranged for them, and they were choosing her, my jobless, directionless sister. I was silent, unsure of how to respond. The words caught in my throat. What do you mean?" I stammered. My mum, always the diplomatic one, placed a hand on my shoulder and smiled softly. "Your sister really needed some rest. We've decided that she could use a break more than you could. You're always so busy, so you understand." My stomach churned. "But I arranged this trip for us," I said quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. "I wanted to take you guys. I planned everything." "I know, honey," my mom said, "but we just think it's the right time for Emily. You've had so many opportunities, and she hasn't had a chance to experience something like this." I looked at Emily, expecting her to have some kind of reaction, some sign of guilt, but she just stood there with her arms crossed, smirking. She didn't even look excited. It was as if this whole thing didn't matter to her, like it was just another opportunity she had been handed without any effort on her part. I didn't know what to say. My heart was pounding in my chest. This wasn't just about a vacation, this was about everything that had led up to this moment. The years of sacrifice, the careful planning, the hope that this trip would be the one time I could really give back to my parents. But here they were, choosing my sister over me. "Fine," I said, trying to mask my frustration, though it was clear I was hurt. "Have a good time." I watched them load their bags into my mom's car, each movement feeling like a slow-motion scene from a movie. I wanted to scream, to demand an explanation, but I held it in. What was the point? They had made their decision. I wasn't going to beg. As I stood there watching them drive off, I felt the sting of betrayal. It wasn't just about the trip, it was about being passed over for someone who had done nothing to deserve it. Emily didn't appreciate the things she was given. She'd never worked for anything, and now she was getting this. It didn't make sense, but I didn't have time to think about it. My mind was a blur of confusion and hurt. I had planned everything so carefully, and now I was left standing there wondering how things had gone so wrong. The flight to Europe was long, and I found it impossible to stop thinking about what had just happened. I couldn't concentrate on anything else. I kept imagining my parents and Emily on their way to Paris, to Rome, to all the beautiful places they were going to visit, and it made me sick to my stomach. My sister had no appreciation for any of it. She'd probably be complaining about the smallest inconveniences, while my parents, my generous, hard-working parents, would be stuck dealing with her attitude. I checked my phone obsessively, hoping for some kind of message, an apology, maybe even an explanation. But all I got were updates about their flight and hotel. Then, a few days later, I got the message. It was from my mom. It was a photo of my parents standing with Emily in front of a small, dingy hotel that didn't even have a sign. The building looked nothing like the five-star places I'd booked for them. My mom's smile looked a little strained, and my sister was frowning in the background. The text beneath it read, "Well, we landed and your sister refused to stay anywhere that wasn't a five-star hotel. We had to find something else. She's being difficult, but we're making it work. I couldn't help it." I laughed out loud. It was just so fitting. Emily had thrown a tantrum when things weren't perfect, just like I'd expected. She had no sense of what it meant to be grateful for an opportunity, and now she was demanding the world. I almost felt sorry for my parents, who were now stuck dealing with her petulance in a foreign country. I didn't text back right away. What could I say? It seemed like the universe had already delivered the punchline. As the days went by, the Aimai situation only got worse. My parents sent more updates, each one a little more strained than the last. Emily continued to complain, the trip turning into a nightmare for them. Meanwhile, I sat at home, untouched by the chaos. I hadn't wanted this to happen, but I couldn't say I was surprised. In the end, my sister's true nature had been revealed. She couldn't appreciate what was given to her, and now she was going to pay the price for it. By the time they returned, I had already moved on from the disappointment. I didn't need to hear more about their trip. I had seen enough. And as for Emily, she learned a valuable lesson about taking things for granted. She just didn't realize it yet. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've faced a similar situation, I'd love to hear your thoughts. How did you handle it? Leave a comment below, like and subscribe for more stories like this one. Don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss an update.